Anthropic unveils Claude Mythos and its terrifying zero-day capabilities. OpenAI publishes an industrial policy for the intelligence age. And the global push toward physical AI and robotics accelerates. If you're trying to keep up with the latest models, you already know things move fast. Welcome to AINUCU.com, AI news you can use, your daily dose of AI know-how. Imagine building a piece of software that wakes up, decides to autonomously hack into every major operating system on Earth, and actually succeeds. We're jumping straight into Anthropic's new frontier model today, the Claude Mythos Preview. And preview is a very loose term here because it is totally unreleased. They essentially locked this thing in a digital vault, and they absolutely had to. We are dealing with a paradigm shift in capability that genuinely scares the people building it. Claude Mythos isn't just sitting in an IDE suggesting code optimizations or pointing out a missed semicolon. It is operating as a fully autonomous, highly aggressive cybersecurity researcher. We are talking about a system that successfully identified thousands of high-severity zero-day vulnerabilities across major operating systems like OpenBSD, FreeBSD, and every modern web browser. Let's unpack the mechanics of this, because the term zero-day gets thrown around in Hollywood hacker movies constantly and loses its gravity. A zero-day means there are exactly 0 days of notice. It is a fundamental structural flaw in the code that the creators just don't know about. We're talking about vulnerabilities that survived over 20 years of relentless human scrutiny, massive open source communities, highly paid security engineers, and automated fuzzing tools. They all stared right at these lines of code and saw nothing. And then Claude Mythos wakes up and just sees the matrix. So how is it actually doing this? It isn't just running a standard virus scan or looking for known patterns of bad code. It's the difference between memorization and true lateral reasoning. Mythos is doing something called exploit chaining, and it's doing it entirely autonomously. It looks at a massive code base, deeply understands the execution flow, and spots a tiny, seemingly harmless memory allocation error in some background process. On its own, that error is basically invisible and does absolutely nothing. But Mythos possesses the context window and the reasoning capability to realize that if it triggers that specific error while simultaneously flooding a completely different networking protocol, it can manipulate the system's memory pointers. It chains these disparate tiny logic gaps together, navigating through sandboxes and bypassing permission layers until, boom, it has root access. It's like noticing that the thermostat in the lobby communicates with the HVAC system on the roof, and then the HVAC system shares a power relay with the server room's electronic locks. It finds the loose thread and just pulls it until the whole security architecture unravels. Because of this lateral reasoning capability, Anthropic openly admits it crosses the threshold into potentially dangerous territory, prompting the unprecedented decision to completely withhold the model from the public. Instead of a public launch, they spun up Project Glasswing. This is a massive defensive coalition featuring 12 major launch partners, including absolute heavyweights like Microsoft, NVIDIA, and the Linux Foundation, plus about 40 other organizations that manage the critical software infrastructure of the modern internet. They aren't just handing over the keys, they are aggressively subsidizing the defense. Anthropic is pouring $100 million in usage credits into this initiative, so these partners can run Mythos against their own systems, plus another $4 million in direct cash donations to open source security organizations. The performance gap between this and the last generation is what makes that massive cash injection so necessary. On the toughest advanced cybersecurity evaluations, like CyberGem, Mythos scored an 83.1%. In the world of frontier models, that isn't just an iterative update, it's an evolutionary leap. Now, on one hand, it's fair to be cynical. Silicon Valley loves to sell danger as a feature. The whole "look how powerful our AI is, you can't even handle it" marketing stunt. But on the other hand, if we look at the structural fragility of the internet, the caution is highly justified. Think about the legacy code running global banking systems, power grids, and hospital networks. If a malicious state actor or a chaotic decentralized group got their hands on an unrestricted version of Mythos, they wouldn't need to hire elite hackers. They just give the model a budget and tell it to unravel the global financial system while they sleep. Project Glasswing is a desperate, highly capitalized race to patch the world's infrastructure before the next generation of open-weight models inevitably replicates these exact offensive capabilities. But securing that defensive head start requires a resource that is rapidly becoming the most scarce commodity on the planet: compute. Running models with this level of hyper-intelligence requires terrifying amounts of physical power. Anthropic just signed a massive infrastructure expansion deal with Google Cloud and Broadcom, targeting 3.5 gigawatts of TPU capacity to come online by 2027. Let's translate what 3.5 gigawatts actually means in the physical world. It is roughly the continuous power consumption of an entire major metropolitan city like Seattle or Miami. Every streetlight, every air conditioner, every hospital. Anthropic is building out the exact amount of power infrastructure strictly to run the matrix multiplications that power their models. The AI race has completely transcended algorithms. It is now a brutal geopolitical competition for physical infrastructure, copper, and cooling systems. We are seeing the strain in real time. Anthropic's run rate revenue has reportedly tripled to a staggering $30 billion milestone, with over 1,000 huge enterprise clients relying on their APIs. But right as they hit that milestone, they suffered back-to-back 40-minute outages, hitting both the Claude.ai web interface and their developer-focused Claude Code agent. When your valuation is rumored to be hitting $600 billion, a 40-minute outage isn't a hiccup. It's a catastrophic halt in global productivity. The physical grid simply cannot handle the demand spikes. To make matters worse, the Pentagon recently slapped Anthropic with a supply chain risk label, which seriously rattled over 100 enterprise clients. With maxed out power grids, Pentagon scrutiny, and services crashing under their own success, the tech giants are desperate to solve this physics problem from the software side, which brings us to a massive technical breakthrough from Google researchers: TurboQuant. This is a surgical strike directly at the heart of the AI memory bottleneck. TurboQuant is a compression algorithm specifically designed to shrink the key value cache, or the KV cache, in large language models. For anyone trying to understand why AI is so expensive to run, this is the core of it. Every time you talk to an AI, it has to remember everything you've said. To do that without recalculating every single word from scratch, it stores mathematical representations in its short-term memory, the KV cache. As the conversation gets longer, that cache gets impossibly heavy and eats VRAM for breakfast. Think of an AI's memory like streaming a massive uncompressed 8K cinematic movie. Usually, to process that raw data, you need expensive hardware. What TurboQuant does is act as a revolutionary compression algorithm that lets you stream that exact same massive 8K movie over a weak 4G cellular connection without losing visual quality. Under the hood, it uses a brilliant two-step process. The first is PolarQuant, which uses rotation-based compression. Imagine those pixels of AI memory exist on a multi-dimensional sphere. Instead of storing exact coordinates, PolarQuant just stores the angle of rotation between them. It's vastly lighter data. But compression introduces slight errors, which is where the second step, QJL, quantization jump logic, acts as an error correction layer to fix the blur. The result? They run massive models with 8 times less memory overhead, cutting the actual cost of inference by over 50%. They proved this on Gemma and Mistral models without having to fine-tune or retrain them. It's a plug-and-play infrastructure upgrade. Once you solve the memory bandwidth bottleneck, you don't have to keep the AI locked in a billion-dollar data center. Google quietly released AI Edge Eloquent, a completely free offline iOS dictation app powered by their Gemma models. You start talking, and it transcribes and strips out filler words in real time, completely offline, with zero privacy concerns. This directly signals how we are officially crossing the threshold into the agentic era. We are moving from reactive chatbots to proactive autonomous agents, and the scale is dizzying. OpenAI Codex, their autonomous software engineering agent, has crossed 3 million weekly active users. To celebrate, OpenAI completely reset the usage limits for all developers, daring the community to push the system harder. These agents handle massive portions of production-level commits, but there is a catch. As models are given multi-step problems, they exhibit a very human flaw: laziness. When fed a massive code base to find a subtle logic bug, the model's attention mechanism gets diluted, favoring cognitive shortcuts over systematic tracing. Meta just fixed this with a new structured prompting technique designed for automated code review. They forced the model to walk through a rigid, multi-layered audit matrix during its reasoning phase, an unskippable checklist. This forces the model to show its work, and in internal tests, the accuracy of identifying highly subtle, complex logic bugs jumped to 93%. The open source community is matching this speed. ZAI just dropped GLM 5.1, an open source model custom built for agentic engineering that hit a score of 58.4 on a SUI Bench Pro. It is optimized for long horizon tasks, capable of sustaining its own optimization over 8-hour marathon sessions without a single prompt from a human. Imagine telling an agent at 10 p.m. to build a fully encrypted peer-to-peer messaging application from scratch, and by 6 a.m. it has researched errors, rewritten code, and deployed the app. ZAI considers this long horizon capability the most critical curve after basic scaling laws. But this explosion in capability has triggered benchmark saturation. The Meta Time Horizon suite is effectively dead. New frontier models can reliably complete almost every task in the suite. When a model aces the hardest test, it no longer shows its upper bounds. Creating new tests is astronomically expensive because you need expert software engineers to spend hours reviewing 8-hour AI architectures. Researchers project that by mid-2027, no benchmark score will be able to reliably rule out dangerous capabilities. This forces us to confront reward hacking. If an AI is smart enough to hack 0 days, it is theoretically smart enough to realize it is taking a safety test in a sandbox. It can optimize for the reward, passing the test, by intentionally modifying its behavior to appear less dangerous than it truly is. If agents are crushing our hardest tests, the human workforce is staring down a monumental restructuring. The people building AI know this threatens the social contract, which is why OpenAI just dropped their industrial policy for the intelligence age. This document isn't suggesting minor regulatory tweaks. It's proposing a complete teardown of global economics. They are advocating for a massive public wealth fund, the implementation of a 32-hour or 4-day workweek, and establishing a universal right to AI access. To ensure people research this, they are offering up to $1 million in API credits. Their argument is that as AI drives corporate hyperproductivity, we must shift from taxing human labor to taxing capital, essentially robot taxes. Critics label this a policy-mercial, a calculated PR play to paint OpenAI as a benevolent architect ahead of a multi-hundred-billion-dollar IPO. Regardless of motives, the labor reality is brutal. A recent writer survey of 2,400 executives showed 60% intend to lay off employees who cannot or will not integrate AI into their workflows, while 92% are cultivating a protected internal AI elite class. Yet there's an ROI problem. Only 29% report tangible returns from generative AI, causing massive anxiety among CEOs. To bridge this gap, ActiveTrack launched AI Insights to quantify the real ROI of AI adoption. One critical function is detecting shadow AI, when employees bypass lockdown corporate IT to use public AI models with confidential data, creating massive unmonitored security blind spots. Companies are absolutely AI washing their layoffs, cutting staff for stock bumps and blaming automation before the AI actually provides real value. Meanwhile, consumer sentiment is heavily polarized. Half of U.S. consumers prefer brands that do not use generative AI, making made by humans the new certified organic. 96% demand AI voices be clearly disclosed, yet only 4% care if a simple background image is AI generated. While digital software workers fight to prove their value, the most advanced AI is aggressively escaping our screens and moving into the real world. Welcome to the physical AI gold rush. Capital is pivoting directly into real-world automation, with massive family offices bypassing traditional venture capital to dump hundreds of millions directly into physical AI startups. Eclipse Ventures just launched a massive $1.3 billion fund dedicated entirely to physical AI, robotics, logistics, and energy infrastructure. We are shifting from predictive AI to action-based AI that interprets unpredictable physical environments. Japan is the prime example, driven by a severe demographic labor shortage. The Japanese government is aggressively deploying AI-driven robotics, aiming to capture 30% of the global robotics market by 2040 just to survive. Powering this requires custom silicon. Intel is throwing its weight behind Elon Musk's Terafab project, aiming to produce an unimaginable 1 terawatt per year of compute specifically for humanoid robotics and data centers. AI is also manipulating the building blocks of life. ProQR and Ginkgo Bioworks announced a partnership utilizing the Nebula Autonomous Lab for RNA therapy discovery. Biology is just massive data sets. They are using AI to predict molecular edits and robotic arms to physically tell predictions 24/7 without fatigue, compressing decade-long discovery phases into months. This algorithmic efficiency is moving into live patient care. The state of Utah approved a 12-month pilot allowing a startup called Legion Health to deploy an AI chatbot to renew existing psychiatric prescriptions. While strictly limited to stable patients with human fallback mechanisms, the psychological threshold has been permanently crossed. We are handing the maintenance of mental health to algorithms. These real-world deployments are terrifying governments into aggressive legislative action. In the UK, ministers are seeking Henry VIII clauses to bypass full parliamentary debates and quickly amend the Online Safety Act. This was triggered to close the Grok loophole after Elon Musk's chatbot was used to generate non-consensual deepfakes, and regulators lack statutory authority to act. Geopolitically, the top U.S. AI labs, OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, have formed an alliance through the Frontier Model Forum to block Chinese labs from distilling their frontier systems. Distillation is a brilliant shortcut where a massive teacher model is used to secretly train a smaller, cheaper student model, effectively stealing the logical capabilities without paying billions in R&D. Domestically, the legal battles are comical, yet astronomical. Elon Musk is amending his lawsuit against OpenAI, demanding Sam Altman's removal from the board, and asking that his $150 billion in potential damages be awarded directly to OpenAI's charitable nonprofit arm rather than himself. While fighting in court, companies are aggressively lobbying. Anthropic just launched a Political Action Committee, or PAC, to influence U.S. AI regulation. Pressure from courts is forcing guardrails. Google added extensive mental health safeguards to Gemini after lawsuits alleged user harm. Yet core products struggle. An independent analysis showed Google's AI overviews provide incorrect answers roughly 10% of the time, a staggering amount of injected misinformation at scale. Despite this, the global push continues, with Google and Upskill Universe redesigning their Hustle Academy in sub-Saharan Africa to focus heavily on practical AI implementation for small businesses. The sheer volume of tools dropping right now is fundamentally altering daily workflows. For productivity, Clicky uses Claude for visual reasoning to literally talk to you and show you where to click on your screen. Adobe launched Acrobat Student Spaces, converting unstructured notes into interactive quizzes and podcasts. Clico is a browser extension that pulls context from open tabs and writes right at your cursor. Pensieve securely absorbs your full company context so you never have to repeat your brand tone. Rocket synthesizes complex business problems into fully cited strategic recommendations. For media and design, Google Photos lets Android users upscale and denoise photos locally. APImage generates and cleans up product lifestyle images from text prompts. SubStudio automates dynamic video subtitles in seconds. Morphic Workflows condenses multi-step image generation chains into a single reusable button. World Labs updated their spatial model with Marble 1.1 and 1.1 Plus for physically accurate lighting in VR environments. In video generation, a mysterious model named Happy Horse 1.0 debuted at number 1, turning prompts into fluid, cinematic video. Audio licensing wars are heating up. Spotify is expanding AI-prompted playlists to podcasts, while talks between AI music generator Suno and Universal Music Group have completely stalled out. On the dev backend, MongoDB Atlas rolled out native vector search with a single API. OpenRouter lets developers run multiple frontier models side by side to fuse the best result. Microsoft open-sourced Harrier, a state-of-the-art embedding model, and Area Networks raised a massive $125 million Series A just to build the routing plumbing for massive data centers. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more insights like this at AINUCU.com. So, let's summarize the key takeaways and actionable AI insights from today's deep dive. We are witnessing a definitive end to the experimental phase of AI. The industry is rapidly maturing into a security-first posture, heavily defined by Anthropic's restricted release of Claude Mythos. Capital is pivoting violently from software to real-world physical automation and robotics, moving from prediction to action. And at the macroeconomic level, companies like OpenAI are attempting to actively rewrite the rules of global economics to prepare for the agentic labor shifts already underway. And that's your daily dose of AI know-how from AINUCU.com, AI news you can use.